So you're going to learn the first mimer. We're going to learn the first mimer of the Parsha, Pikudei, page 3 in this pamphlet. This mimer was said Parshas Pikudei, Chaf Heyadar, in the year 1806. And as we know, different maimarim were transcribed from the different transcribers. So this maimer was transcribed by the Mittler Rebbe. Okay. The maimer, this maimer focuses, the Alter Rebbe gives insight on the first few psukim. Well, actually, the first pasuk of this week's parsha. The Parsha Pikudei talks about the making an accounting of all the different things that were used in the Mishkan to build it. But the first pasuk of the parsha that introduces that seems very cryptic in a sense. There's a lot of words there that need to be understood. The Alter Rebbe will ask the questions, and through the beer, it's a long mimer, but the beer of the mimer, the Alter Rebbe, you'll see how each word fits in its place, exact. So the pasuk says, Eila Pikudei HaMishkan, Mishkan HaEdus, Asher Pukad al pi Moshe, Avedas Halavim, B'yad Isamar ben Aaron HaKohen. So these are the appointments over the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And then it says again, Mishkan HaEdus, the tabernacle, the Mishkan, which gives testimony. Asher Pukad al pi Moshe, which is assigned by Moshe. Avedas Halavim, B'yad Isamar, under the direction of Isamar ben Aaron HaKohen, the son of Aaron. So the Alter Rebbe asks, so that sometimes the Alter Rebbe introduces the question, he asks the question, Shdayik or Vishlahavin. Over here, it's the question he's basically, the questions that he's asking is Yedua. The question is known. What are the questions that are known? Oimroi, it says twice Mishkan. It says Eila Pikudei HaMishkan, and then it says again Mishkan HaEdus. So why does the Torah repeat twice the word Mishkan? Shnei pamim. Question number 1. Question number 2 in the pasuk. V'gam asher amar asher pukad al pi Moshe. It says Asher Pukad al pi Moshe, so which was assigned by Moshe. It should say Asher Pukad Moshe. Pukad al pi Moshe. What is al pi Moshe? What is the pasuk adding when it says al pi Moshe? Just say Asher Pukad Moshe. V'gam oimrei Avedas Halavim. So what is the pasuk introducing here? It's introducing the making accounting of the everything that was donated. So what does the Aved of the Leviim have to do with that? How does that connect to the narrative here is how much was collected and what it was used for, like a ledger. So what is the Avedas Halavim? Ma'inyan of Avedas Halavim Sheisav Masois Lisa Samishkan. The Aved of the Leviim, their function was to carry the Mishkan. So ma shayich zeh it's Pikudei HaMishkan. Question number 3. Question number 4. V'gam, continuing in the pasuk. V'gam hasham, at the end of the pasuk it says Avedas Halavim b'yad Isamar, that they were under the direction of Isamar. V'lama le'nisker gam kein ma shehaya b'yad Elazar. Once you're already mentioning the Leviim, so that we know the parashas discussed in Bamidbar By Midbar Nase, the whole how it all worked and all the different groups, and they were under the different families of the Levium, and they were under the different Kohanim. So if it was going to say why, if it's already going to mention that, so why only mention Isamar? Why not mention Elazar also? Ukemevur kushis elu ba'alshich. So the Tzemach Tzedek adds that these questions, the Alshich answers these questions, not in the same vein as the Alter Rebbe. In other words, Alshich takes it to a different place. But these questions are addressed in the Alshich. So in order to understand, the first question is why it says Mishkan twice. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that each Mishkan, the word Mishkan, refers to something else. Mishkan in general, as you're familiar, is the idea of Asuli Mikdash v'Shachanti b'Seichem. What's the idea of Mishkan? The idea of Mishkan is that the Eibishter should reside in Mekadira B'Tachtenim, whether it's the Mishkan itself specifically, or B'Seicham, or in every person. But the idea of Mishkan expresses what's the point. The point is that the Eibishter resides amongst the Yidden. So the two words Mishkan represent two different dargas, two different inyanim that are residing kaviyach. There's a residing of one level, which is residing is the first level of Mishkan, Pikudei Mishkan, and the second level is described as Mishkan Eidus. And the Mishkan Eidus is a higher level than Stam Mishkan. And the Alter Rebbe will explain later on in the Maimer when do you need. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but when do you need Eidus? Eidus is testimony. Something that you see, you don't need testimony for. Something that you're aware of, something that you know, you don't need testimony. Testimony you need on something that you don't know. Something that you don't know, something that is hidden, so you need to have testimony on its existence. So when we're talking about a Mishkan, the Eibishter residing, the Gili Alikus, so you have a level of Gili Alikus, which is called Mishkan. And then you have a level of Gili Elikus, which is even beyond the regular Gili Elikus, the regular Darga of Mishkan. And in order to describe that Darga, so that the Pasuk says Mishkan Eidus. For that Darga, that's an Eidus Darga. That's a Darga which is beyond and hidden. And what is the indicator there is the Eidus. The fact that you need testimony means something beyond. So let's understand that, to unpack that, to understand about it, Alter Rebbe begins. Mishkan, Mishkan in general is the Ashra, the fact that the Shechina resides. Here the Alter Rebbe brings also another pasuk, which is not usual in this context. In other words, usually he talks about the Shachanti, he talks about the Shechina residing. The pasuk Shachanti b'Seichem, also the Mikdash Shachanti b'Seichem. Uchsiv, the Alter brings the pasuk from Yirmiyah, Heichal Havayahim. What is this pasuk adding? This pasuk is actually bringing out the diuk that Chazal say that V'asuli Mikdash Shachanti b'Seicham, that the Shechina resides b'Seicham in them. In other words, not necessarily only what you might think, Vasili Mikdash, that where does the Eibishter reside? Only in the Mishkan, only in the Mikdash, but also in B'Seicham by every Yid. Every Yid makes his Mishkan. So that's what the Pasuk is saying. Heichal Havayahim. Who is it talking about? It's talking about the Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael are Heichal Havaya. They are Heichal, they make a chamber of Havaya. And this idea of Shachanti b'Seicha and Heichal Havaya, this is like Chazal saying, Nisava HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyaseder b'tachtenim. So the question, this begs the question that the Alter Rebbe says, what is this additional gilui? The fact that the Eibishter resides in the Mikdash, in Yidden, Heichal Havaya, the Eibishter says, Hashemayim v'saretz ani malei. There's no, the Eibishter fills the whole world. Less asar panim minei. What do we mean when we say dira b'tachtenim? Ki dira zu hainu sheyiyeh b'chinas gilui elikusi yizbarech. That's the emphasis here. Gilui elikusi yizbarech. That it should be revealed. Taka the Eibishter is everywhere, but it's not revealed. And where is the revelation of the Eibishter? Dafka v'hainu b'tachtenim dafka. So nis'avela HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyis le'dira b'tachtenim, that the gilui should be dafka in tachtenim, dafka below. What's tachtenim? Tachten is a space. When we talk about the Eibishter, we can't talk about space. Like the Alter Rebbe brings the pasuk in Yemakimiti, that the Eibishter space is not defined in space, just like he's not defined in time. That's Yud Kei Vav Kei is telling us that the Eibishter is not defined in time. The Eibishter is not defined in space. Space is something that is completely batal to Hashem. In other words, the Eibishter transcends space. So when it says tachten, so what does it mean, tachtenim? Tachten means the Eibishter should reside below. So what do we mean when we say below? If there's no space, so what does tachten bring out? So the Alter Rebbe says, tachten brings out that there's dargis. Where is the Eibishter most concealed? The Eibishter is most concealed in below, and dafka in a place where the Eibishter is concealed. That's the Gilui Hashchina. That's where the Gilui should be. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Achoinyan kidira zu hainu shebechinas Gilui elikus yisbarach v'hainu betachtenim dafka. The Pirush tachtenim. What do we mean when we say tachten? Ein ratzaloim b'makim. So it's not a pshat that tachte means in space. Why? Shari hu yisbarach in a begeder makim. U'kamashikosov hine makimiti. Rak, what does it mean al yenim et tachtenim? Pirush al yenim et tachtenim hainu b'mayla u'madrega. You have a mayla and a madrega. You have different levels. You have a level called elyon and you have a level called tachten. What makes the level elyon and what makes it tachten, depending on how prevalent, how recognized is elikus, is godliness in that space. Sha'olam hazah shafel, that this world, hu ayesa tachten v'shafel madrega, that's the lowest level. The hainu shu soif v'tachtes kol madregas. It's the end of all. Everything was created. It's the tachlis, but it's the end, meaning to say, it's the least, where the Eibishter is most hidden. The Eibishter is concealed. And now, that's the Alter Rebbe went on a little bit of a tangent, only to explain the idea, because we said dira b'tachtenim, so we wanted to explain what does it mean tachtenim. Why do we call it tachtenim? But so now going back to the Maimer Chazal Nisave, so Nisave HaKadosh Baruch Hu is boy dafke b'chinas dira. What's boy dafke in the tachten? Dafke in the slowest space, in a place where it's completely concealed. Which is, that's why it's called Tachtin. Dafka there, Gili Elikusi is Baruch Lahoyes HaChoshech Dafka, to shine the darkness. That's the Dira B'Darkeinu. That's the idea of Mishkan. How do you do that? How do we break through the darkness? How are we megala? How do we reveal a likus in the world, in this dark place? I know it's different ways of doing it. There's Torah and mitzvahs, and you have a third level, which is called iskafia. You're familiar with other Bamarim? Torah and mitzvahs b'chlal is one way, and iskafia is a different way. And Alter Rebbe is going to say that iskafia is higher, there's more. It brings out more this gilui. In other words, the kavana is to be megala likus, to reveal likus. The likus that you're megala through iskafia is much higher, a much higher level of likus than what you accomplish through Torah mitzvahs. See inside. Behind the Torah mitzvahs, the Maimer Azal, Yof Eshach the Shuv Meisim Tev Melam Hazem Mikol Chay Elam Haba. That Shuva Meisim Tev and Belam Hazeh is much greater than Kol Chay Elam Haba. Lafi Shayidei Zemam Shagile Likus Yeser Mechinas Chay Elam Haba. Chay Elam Haba is one level of Gilui. One level of revelation is called Elam Haba. But the Gilui Likus, which one brings through Iskafia, through Torah mitzvahs, is much greater than the Gilui Likus, which is in Elam Haba. V'hinei hamshoch as dirazu v'gilui zeh hu aidei di Iskafia sitra achra dafka. How is this? This is brought dafka through the Iskafia sitra achra. Shua Yitzhara, Ukamashikosa B'Zoyar Parshas Truma, like it says in Zoyar, Kadiskaf Yisitra Achra, Yistalik Yikar Dekut Shabricha Le'ela Al Koila. The Zoyar says that when you have iskafia literally means when you subjugate the Sitra Achra, the other side, the Koyach of Klippa. So Istalik Yikar Dekut Shabricha. The word Istalik means literally like Istalkos. Whatever is stalkus. Stalkus is to depart. But what do you mean to depart? We want to say we're saying that you're bringing the Eibishter down in this world. What does it mean istalik? Istalik is not telling you that the Gila Likus is nistalik, goes away. But it's describing the darga of Elikus that you're bringing down. The Zohar is describing what is the darga of Elikus that you're bringing down in the world when you do iskafia. The darga of Elikus is called istalik, means it's a darga of godliness which is higher, transcends the world. So it's istalik means it's beyond the world.
Is saying that iskafia is in addition to Torah mitzvahs or Torah mitzvahs in a way of iskafia?
I mean, iskafia is you have iskafia in that's in Avodas Hashem, but Torah, in other words, here in Machalik in the Oifen Akiyum, that you have Torah mitzvahs b'chlal, but more specifically you have the Oifen Akiyum, which is iskafia. U'metchila tzarich leis iskafia v'achar kach b'chinas ishapach shechan al hira. So first you have the iskafia, and after the iskafia is subjugating, and afterwards you transform from darkness to light. And what is this iskafia? Here the Alter Rebbe elaborates. What's the iskafia? Hainu b'chol hei chushim, in all the five chushim, in all the five senses. K'mei beria, in sight, eitzam einav mirais berah, to close one's eyes from looking at something negative. V'chein b'shmiya, and then also with regards to hearing. V'chein b'dibur, v'maisa. You have in the hei chushim, you have machshava, dibur, and maisa. So first Alter Rebbe talks about Dibur Maisa, because Dibur Maisa is something which is easier to control. V'chein b'machshava is a harder, but also machshava, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, is also a Beinoni, is someone who controls his machshava, because that's within your power. And then it goes further in Midas HaNefesh. Kadesh atzmecha b'mutalach. V'ayidei zeh yavel lebechinas ishapcha. And through the iskafia, then you come to the ishapcha, the transformation, where now his chushim are mamish klil eretzei baruch hu. So they're mamish a vessel for godliness. And that's what it says, Heichel Havaya. We said before that this is the Heichel Havaya. That's when you make a dira, you make a mikdash. So the Heichel, you're creating a Heichel of Havaya. That's by a Yid through his mitzvahs that he's doing. He's creating. He's bringing down a gili alikus that the Eibusha should reside. Heichel Havaya, the Heichel of Hashem. Why is it called Heichel Havaya, Heichel of Hashem? Because the Alter Rebbe will say that mitzvahs are connected with the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Tzemach Tzedek writes, it's like a cluster of grapes. Each letter, there are different mitzvahs that are connected with that particular. Let's just say you have a cluster that's connected, that is on the vine. So there's mitzvahs that are connected with the Yud, mitzvahs are connected with Kei and Vav and Kei. That's Bechlal. Befrat, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Yud Kei is connected with mitzvahs Lois Aseh, and the Vav Kei is connected with mitzvahs Aseh. Let's see inside. Zeh shlemar al Yisrael Heichel Havaya, Mapirush Heichel Havaya, Hainu K'mitzvus Aseh, Mitzvus Lois Aseh, Tluyin B'Shem Havaya. K'meshi Yisbar L'Kaman. Mitzvus Aseh B'Vav Kei. Mitzvus Aseh is connected with the Vav Kei of Shem Havaya, or Mitzvus Lois Aseh B'Yud Kei. L'chein, Ayidei Kiyim HaMitzvus Aseh V'Lois Aseh, Na'aseh B'chinas Heichel. So by fulfilling the mitzvahs of Aseh and Lois Aseh, so then a Yid makes a Heichel. He's called. That's why the Yidden are called Heichel Havaya. Okay, Ukli L'Gil Shem Havaya Mamish. Asher Zeu Inyan V'Shachanti B'Seichem. That's what it means. V'Shachanti B'Seichem. V'Kumashi Yisbar L'Kamon B'Inyan Pekudei Mishkan Eidus. Zeu Inyan, and because of this Aveda that Yidden do, that through Iskafia, through Torah mitzvahs and Iskafia, they bring down the Havaya, they bring down the level of Elikus. So that's what it means. The Maimer Chazal, that Asidim Tzadikim Sheyemrim Lefneim Kodesh, that by Tzadikim, Amcha Kulim Tzadikim, that by Yidden Sheyemru Lefneim Kodesh, that they say Kodesh. What is Kodesh? Kodesh, we say Kodesh refers to a level of Elikus, of godliness, which is transcendent, higher than Kodesh means transcendent. So why do we say by Tzadikim we're going to say Kodesh? Because they are Heichel Havaya, because they bring down in the world, in themselves, they're called Heichel Havaya, or in the Mishkan, B'soich Kol Echad Ve'echad, they bring down Havaya. So they bring down Havaya is in three different levels. Depending on the Aveda, so that brings down a different level, this different transcendent level of Elikus, and that's why it says three times. V'hainu Gimel B'chinas Levush HaNefesh, Machshav V'Redibur Maisa, Shebehem Tluyim Kiyim Kol HaMitzvos. V'hainu Adira B'Tachteinim, Shiyu HaNeshom Isnasim B'Ramazi B'Guf Tavke. That's the Dira B'Tachteinim, that the Neshama is accomplished in this world. In Beguf, in their body, in other words, the body, meaning through the iskafia, that they make a kli, the bechinas kadosh umuvdul, that should become a keli, a vessel, a recipient of the kadosh, kamashikasu bekir b'cha kadosh. That's why in front of the tzaddikim, la'asulev, they're going to say kadosh. V'zeu b'shachanti b'seicham, that they accomplished the b'shachanti b'seicham. They accomplished bringing down a likus in a way in begili lamata. And this is done through iskafia. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to ask, what is so special about iskafia that accesses such a high level of elikus? L'chura, it seems counterintuitive, because iskafia is connected with the lowest level. In other words, a person who's not able to do it automatically on his own, so he has to fight himself and he has to break himself in order to do what the Eibishter wants. You would think that there's who's better? Someone who does it automatically, or someone who has to fight and break themselves? Automatically seems to be a higher level. He doesn't even have to struggle. And the way the Alter Rebbe asks the question, he says, L'chura, Sitra Achra is insignificant in the face of Elikus. Meaning to say, the pasuk says, it's a pasuk in Eiv, I think. The pasuk says, the Alter Rebbe brings it later on. Oh, here. A pasuk in Mishlei, I'm sorry. The pasuk says that as shmamis biyadayim titapis. What's a shmamis? Shmamis is a spider. So the pasuk in Mishlei says that the spider, how does it get its food? It gets its food by making a web, right? Biyadayim titapis, v'hi be'echalei hamelech. And the spider is in the heichel of the melech. So a regular person in his house, so if there's a spider there, he chases it out. He gets rid of it. But the spider in the spider here is allowed to be there because it's in heichal hamelech. The melech is so removed and so transcends the spider that it doesn't matter. The spider doesn't faze him whatsoever. So that's why it also says, how does klipa? How can klipa exist? So klipa, there's two ways that klipa exists. One, klipa exists just like you have a food chain, like a soup kitchen, right? Who gets the people at the end of the line? There's no soup left. They get the mamish, the dreads. They get the left, the mamish, the last
crumbs.
Huh?
Crumbs.
Yeah, the last crumbs they get of what's left. So too, there's a hierarchy of in the line. Closer, the ones that come first and second. Klippes are the last. They get the chitzonim shebechitzonis. That's one oifen that they receive. A second oifen that they receive is that because they receive from the makif, the Eibishter is bechole hamelech. He's in the palace. In other words, he's so far removed from it that they don't faze him at all. and therefore they can also receive from the makif. It's like it says that there's a maimer in Avodah Mayinu, but in the Siddur, the Alter Rebbe says that when the king makes a suda, a meal, so then he invites important people, and then you have the different groups of people that work in the palace until you have the dogs, but the dogs are also getting a nice portion. But it's not the kavana. The kavana is not for them. What?
The what?
Yeah, but it comes from the Maimer. So there, even the dogs will get why? When you have such archava, so it's not the pshat that it was made for them, but they also receive.
Even more than other people sometimes.
Right. So here also, so we're saying that the smum is biadayim to tapis, that the spider is behi beichale hamelech, that because it's heichal hamelech, because it's in the palace of the king, so therefore it can stay there because it doesn't phase at all. So the chura, why are we mentioning that? So if that's the whole mitzvah of Sitra Achara, so then why is it that that is a result of Iskafia, then it brings such a high Gilui Elikus into the world? What time is it?
11:06.
Oh. So that's what the Alter Rebbe says. So in order to explain, in order to answer this question, in other words, we want to understand what's the uftu of Iskafia, what's the chiddush, what is that dafka through Iskafia, you bring such a level of gilui. So the Alter Rebbe is going to go on and explain the difference between mitzvahs essay and mitzvahs leis essay. L'chura, mitzvahs essay is should be higher. Why? Because mitzvahs essay, you're doing something. You're putting on tefillin, you're keeping Shabbos, you're doing a mitzvah. And by doing a mitzvah, you bring down a gila likus. But what does it say? That what's higher? Mitzvahs leis essay. As it says, the Yud K Vav K, as we said before, Yud K is connected with mitzvahs leis essay, and Vav K, and Yud K is higher than Vav K, and Vav K is connected with mitzvahs essay. It says, Nistaris Hashem Elokeinu, v'anigleis lanu levaneinu. So v'hanigleis, the Vav K is something which is revealed. That's the lower level. And then Hanistaris, the Yud K, is connected with something which is hidden. So l'chura, why is it that the mitzvahs essay are connected dafka to the Vav K, and the mitzvahs leis essay is connected with the Yud K, which is higher? So once we explain why mitzvahs leis essay is higher than mitzvahs essay, we'll also understand why Iskafia is the Maila of Iskafia. Why Iskafia is higher than regular Torah mitzvahs. In other words, the regular Aveda Torah mitzvahs. Okay.